Hey guys, what's going on? Mouse here, and finally I will be able to create another video. Oh my goodness, I've been spending a lot of hours of just testing and testing and testing and playing to see whether what we tested or what we found out will actually work in actual combat, to see what else could help me improve my damage specifically in the guild boss. I even went as far as optimizing the phantom foxes of Libora as featured in my previous video on Overcrit. Fortunately, whatever we did seemed to work, and now in this video I'm going to share everything I've learned. And while this video will mainly focus on the guild boss, many of the concepts may also be applied to other game content, because we're gonna tackle topics on defense, defense decrease, defense penetration, overcritting, and of course I'm gonna share all the builds I'm using on my hunters. Just a quick disclaimer though, everything I'm sharing here only comes from my personal experience and knowledge. It may or may not apply to you depending on your account progress, and it is by no means the ultimate or the best method out there. And while we've put a lot of work into this, the research is still ongoing right now. It's huge amount of work that we need to do. And yeah, overall, as new information surfaces, some of the ideas I shared today might still change, so keep that in mind. So it all started last month with a simple question I posted in Warrior's community Discord when I had noticed something that was unusual during my guild boss runs, that adding defense penetration instead of damage increase seemed to yield nearly identical damage on the guild boss. So at the time, the common belief was that stacking defense penetration with a lot of defense decrease was not efficient, and that is still mostly true. However, the guild boss turned out to be an exception to this, and I'll explain why shortly. I decided to dive deeper and test this just to make sure I'm not just seeing things. From there, this guy, Brrrr, shout out to you bro. And so we worked together, and me running the test and him doing the math to be able to understand these things better, not just the guild boss mechanics, but also key game elements like defense penetration, defense decrease, overcritting, and more. So if you're not familiar with this guy, just to introduce him, he's one of the community's best Theorycrafters. I've seen his work, like he has proven himself already, and he's responsible for uncovering many of the formulas and game mechanics we are currently using, from defense and precision to a lot more, and I'm gonna share some of them to you in this video as well. So eventually this led us to a bigger idea to launch a community-wide research effort focused on the details of the stats that are affected by monster level, which I already mentioned in my previous video, and this is through PayneBlade's Discord server. And so even PayneBlade himself is on board now, by the way, so this is gonna be big. This research is so crucial because a deeper understanding of these mechanics will not only help us make more informed decisions, it will shape our overall strategy for the current and future meta, as well as understand what really happened in the past. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's already contributed to this effort, and to those who will continue to push this research as we move forward in the future. So if you want to get involved here, learn, or just contribute, feel free to join the discussion here in this thread. And with that, let's begin with the first one. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is how defense decrease and defense penetration works. Brrrr is the one to actually explain this to me in detail, and I'm going to share this to you guys because this is really important, not only for the guild boss, okay? This is like in general. So I have here a couple of damage tests on the guild boss at rage 0. I just put it here fast just to give you this as an example, okay? So first one, we got here 136k without adding anything. We got 249k by applying shadow step, that's 60% defense decrease. We got 167k here by applying 24% defense penetration from the Night Killer buff here, and we got 286k here by stacking defense decrease and penetration. Again, our damage is 136k. When we apply the defense penetration 24%, we got a 22.65% damage increase in relation to our original damage. Individually, we applied shadow step as well. We got 82% damage increase from 136k to 249k, and after applying the penetration, which is the passive penetration from the Night Killer, after applying the defense decrease, we only got 14.69% increase from that passive penetration. So this is just a one simple example to show you that under normal circumstances, the more defense decrease applied, the less effective defense penetration will be. This was the major assumption before when we've been studying the guild boss during its early days. To confirm this, I just want to cover this as well, the defense formula and how it actually works and how the damage is actually computed when applying defense decrease and defense penetration. So this formula right here is from Brrrr as well. So at rage 0, the guild boss is at 75% effective defense, meaning your damage has been reduced by 75% by default. So what's gonna happen here is that if you apply a defense decrease, you're not just gonna reduce this by 60% and make it like 15%. It's not that. And we're also not just gonna reduce this by like the 60% of 75%. It's not that as well. The first thing that you're gonna have to do here is to actually convert the defense, the effective defense percent. So we already got this through other means to defense stat. And using this formula, 75% effective defense is equivalent to 75,000 defense stat. And once you get this stat and you apply a shadow step 60% here, for example, that's gonna be just 30 defense stat. And once you get that resulting defense stat, you gotta convert it again to defense percent, which is here in this case, again using this formula. Just verify it yourselves. You can use ChatGPT to actually compute this. It's much easier. You're gonna get 54.55% effective defense, meaning your damage is gonna be reduced by 54.55%. So to give you an example here, our original damage here again 136,928. Our full damage, because that was reduced by 75%, and that's just, if you reduce it by 75%, that's just 1/4 the damage. You can get the full damage by just getting the 100% of that times 4. That's going to be 547,712%. Now if you check this and reduce 547 by 54.55%, you're gonna get 248k, and that is here 249,439. Of course, precision affects this, so very close to 49k, and this is 248k. Now we add penetration, which is a passive penetration. If you've watched my overcritting video, stats from the artifacts are going to be affected by monster level. So we used passive penetration here just to accurately reflect the exact amount. That's 24% passive penetration from the Night Killer. Penetration is only applied after decreasing the def. So the def here, which is 30k def stat after applying Shadow Step from 75k, we applied Shadow Step 60%, we got 30k, we applied 24% penetration, we got 22,800 defense stat. Now you convert it again using this formula, and the new effective defense will just be 47.74%. And our full damage is at around 547k again. If you reduce it by 47.74%, you're gonna get 286,234, which is here. So this is already confirmed. This is how you compute the defense decrease as well as the defense penetration stacking. However, again, I just want to remind you, defense penetration stat from artifacts, from your gems, etc., those are not passives and will be affected by monster level. And if you're below the CP, most likely it's gonna be affected as well. Now, why is this important? We've established that defense penetration is actually bad or not efficient when you apply a lot of defense decrease. And in the guild boss, we apply a large amount of defense decrease. Like if you have Joy, if you have Bloodlust, if you have Shadow Step, like that's like 92%. However, after doing a lot of tests here, we found that the guild boss is actually an exception, and this thing only applies at rage 0. The guild boss defense at rage 0 is 75%. same as POD and a lot of other monsters in the game. However, as the rage increases, the guild boss defense also increases, and the effectiveness of defense decrease also decreases. There is a constant variable that affects that. Just to kind of show you guys that we're not going to discuss this anymore because this is like super crazy. Just to kind of show you that we actually did a lot of work here and tested damage across various like rages from 0 and the new ones, the latest one that we got, until rage 8. Okay, so we got a chance to get data on all of these and how the damage was affected and all of these. I did not do the math here. I honestly don't understand those kinds of things. It's outside my expertise, to be honest, but I do trust BRR, and that's what he found out here. So the guild boss defense also increases. Well, it's this one is obvious. The guild boss becomes more tanky, and if you test it with another ignore skill like the dark mutilate skill, it's not gonna change the damage of the 100% ignore damage. To make things less complicated and for like someone like me or like for everyone else to be able to understand, I actually did an actual damage test comparing defense penetration and damage increase. So one of the things that I tested is to compare the actual damage output when using damage increase and defense penetration. So I compared 13.62% versus 13.77%. So it's almost the same amount of value. So this is from rage 0 to rage 8 at 0% defense decrease applied and at minus 92% defense decrease applied. So the 13.62% damage increase, which is 7887 damage increase stat, remained consistent all throughout, whether it's 0% def or 92% def decrease. It's at around 10% across every rage. So you might be wondering, why is it only 10% when it should be 13.62%, which is basically probably and most likely because of the monster level. But again, that's not the whole point of this. Just to kind of show you, this one is what we should expect it to be. Now let's go to 13.77% penetration. And as you would notice here, the damage output is actually increasing. Okay, so first things first, at 0% defense decrease applied, which is this column right here, the 13.77% defense penetration, this is the blue one, already started at 8.04% damage output. Okay, and it slowly increased as the rage increased up to 9.2%. Now here's the interesting part. When you apply a 92% defense decrease, the benefit of this 13.77% defense penetration is only 2.04%, which is expected based on what we have talked about. Like the effect, that's the expected effect of defense penetration when you already reduce the depth to a certain level. However, as the rage increases, it is slowly catching up, and at rage 8 it actually is already at 7.99% damage output. So this is big. You only need to get to rage 8 and defense penetration is gonna be like a lot effective than it should be. So the problem with the early research on the guild boss is that we only tested at rage 0 and we were not able to compare it with other rages. I think Warrior was the first one who actually confirmed that the defense of the boss actually increases, basically arrived at the same conclusion. So just to show you the comparison of the penetration and damage increase across rages, 92% defense decrease, again, it's consistent at 10% from this damage increase. Just a bit of noise here, probably due to precision, but the penetration is here slowly catching up to this point. So now the question is damage increase actually better all the time? The answer is probably not. I don't know, but most likely not, because this one is individual comparison. You got 0 pen with damage increase and 0 damage increase with some penetration, and we don't have data on 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there is possibly a point wherein penetration will actually outweigh damage increase when you stack them together. So this will depend on a case-to-case basis. For example, how fast are you going to be able to reach higher ranges to take advantage of defense penetration? Because if you can't reach this fast enough, then you're not going to be able to benefit from it. So that's also going to play a part. And also, it will depend on the amount of defense degrees supplied. As we've seen here in the defense penetration here, with less defense degrees applied, the damage will always start at a higher value. So if you're F2P without the blood loss, without the Choi weapon, it's gonna benefit you more in the early ranges as compared to when you are already decreasing the defense of the boss. But of course, if you're on high-end account with all those resources, then naturally your damage is also gonna be faster. So you're gonna be able to reach rage 8 or higher rages much faster as well. So the balancing there kind of complicated. The damage increase is also additive to other damage increase from artifacts, skills, etc. Whereas defense penetration, like I mentioned, is likely multiplicative to all of them. Like you have blessing set, things like those. So there is a diminishing returns on that. So meaning if you add more damage increase, will also somehow, if by a bit, like just benefit the defense penetration as well if you stack them together. Right now this is still too complex to simulate, and like you have time, you have like the overall lineup, there's a lot of factors to this, and we have no data yet for higher rages. So the research here is still ongoing and we'll update you soon, but this is not the main priority now because we have to put more effort on the stats like crit rate, defense penetration stat, damage increase stat. Right now, for the general recommendation, just get an equal amount or close 15% each, 20% each, or 15 penetration, 20% damage increase. I don't know, or just get whatever it is that would give you more points on an offensive stat on your artifacts, because either way, both of them, penetration and damage increase, will actually increase your damage anyway. And now let's go here in the Overcrit. So our research on Overcrit is still not started. This is just preliminary. Again, this is just my personal test, and this test is versus level 70 monsters, which is the assumed true level of the guild boss. So you're gonna see that the guild boss is level 80, but we have confirmed, although not totally confirmed, but it's most likely the case, because the profile or the effect of the stats like precision and crit damage matches that of the guild boss. I mentioned before that guild boss somehow like has some bonus wherein it doesn't match with the level 80 monster, but it turned out after testing our suspicion, like hypothesis, that it might be another level and the devs might have messed it up, or probably on purpose, but right now we believe it to be a level 70 monster. So when I did my test here, I did it on level 70 monster, so it could still be wrong at this point, but anyway, it's still preliminary. Again, the official crit rate research will proceed after the crit damage stat that we are doing, so this is not yet final. Okay, so overcritting also works on the guild boss, but not all units will benefit much from overcrit. Some have a lot of passives like Mirai, and the effect of overcrit here, just like with everything else, it will make damage more consistent. However, since you will most likely sacrifice another damage stat, I don't know if that's going to be worth it for your case, then that will reduce your highest possible damage with lucky RNG. So Libora, 4.2k crit rate stat, 20% crit rate here out of 150 number of hits. Again guys, this is just preliminary. We're gonna have more test sample data and more scientific method to do this. We just need something that we can use now. So at 7.4k stat, we got 28%. and increasing, and we needed 11k to get 38% and 12k to get 40%. We further added another 3k after that. We got 41.32%. So right now, this is what I'm using. I'm going to show it to you later. I think somewhere around 10k or somewhere around here at 11k. So this is only for the phantom foxes. Okay, some people might say like, I did overcrit but I did not notice a damage increase. Well, that is most likely because you sacrifice a crucial damage stat in exchange for the crit. So this is what I would recommend, at least, because this is still okay. You add 1k, you still get around 6% from here, and afterwards it's gonna diminish. There might even be a soft cap here that we will not be able to reach 50% like it shows in the stat window. So for Sung Jin Woo, Quarian already did their test. I think it's more valid because it was in the guild boss. It's like 70 at 7k crit stat, they got like 40%, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but this is just my personal test again on Songjin level 70 monster. 4k only 26%, 6k we got 30%, 7k 35, 8k 38, at 12k we got 41.33. Oh, same. Just personally using 7.5 to 8k. I'm gonna show my units as well later on, but not on all of them, because again, like Mirai, for example, Chai-In, they have more crit rate from passives, from their teammates, from their party, so they won't need as much. And just real quick guys, before we proceed with the actual builds of my hunters right now that help me achieve really high damage on the guild boss, just in case your support is still free and you want to support me as a content creator, feel free to support me in the Netmarble content creator program. We already got 620 supporters here. We're ranked number 5. Thank you so much for all the support, especially to our top 10 supporters here, Mr. Bombastic, who's 77 days. Wow, thanks so much, bro. Kitsune FR, God Level, Sleepy, King Kong, and NIDs here. Thank you so much for all the support this season, and to everyone who has supported me in the past season. And if you still need some codes, we've got new codes here as well, and there are 3 more codes upcoming this season. Just support me here. I'm gonna send this every day, every few hours. So this is gonna be 500 Essence Stones, SR Hunter, exclusive weapon design, times 4. Alright. Alright, so let's go over the builds of each units that we are currently using right now. Let's start with Team A. Here are the stats: 8k crit damage, defense penetration, damage increase. Still using Guardian set and Sylph's Blessings. And of course, here for Gogunhee, we got here 32k defense and crit damage here 192%. Crit rate is also 8k. Again, I'm not sure if it's 8k or 7k. Still basing my build on my personal test, but I'm gonna stick with it until we do our official research on crit rate. Of course, we're gonna share the results as well to the community. PayneBlade will also share that, of course. So anyway, the stats here: crit damage, defense penetration, damage increase, light damage. Skill priorities: skill 1, core attack, 4-piece curse, 4-piece greed, and I don't have the best cores yet. So mind core, we want the red one here. Just anything will do. For this one, I think for the guild boss, if you're still having mana problems, you can use the red, or if not, it's okay to use the blue one. Doesn't matter, kind of situational. So for my Chai-In, we've got 30.4k attack here. Crit rate 7899. I think it's still a bit excessive. In my personal experience, 6k is actually enough for Chai-In, and I did not see any difference beyond that. So that's just my personal observation. Could be more, could be less again, but just to be safe, we want to be safe, just add a bit more. Like the crit damage 200%, defense penetration, damage increase 2018. There you go. Skill 1 and ultimate are the 2 most crucial here. And 4-piece curse, 4-piece expert. This one, I need the blue core, still haven't got one. Here, doesn't matter, but you kind of want the shield, so that just in case you don't have the guardian set proc yet, then that might help. And here, we want the MP one. Don't have a core ready yet, but I'm gonna change this to MP. So I forgot to mention about MP consumption reduction. I personally just use 1.9k on Chai-In, and my damage reaches up to 2.35 billion without the legendary vacuum wave here on Chai-In with these stats. The key thing here to remember is that there are some builds that add a lot of MP consumption reduction. There are some that with less. I even tried it at 1.4k, did not see much difference because she also regenerates her MP during the match, and also that will depend on the timing of your ult. If you're using manual ult to cancel the dancer, then you can manage your MP. And also if you add MP consumption reduction, then naturally there will be a trade-off on other damage stats in order to get more MP consumption reduction. So this one, just kind of observe. If you're still having MP problems, you think it's affecting your damage, just add a bit more, test it again. If you're having problems, add a bit more, test it again. But in my case, 2k I think is more than enough for the gameplay that I'm doing, which is I always observe the dancer and I don't let her use more than 5 the dancers whenever I have the ultimates available. Now let's move on to Team B. Hansemi here, so you can see all the stats here. HP high, defense penetration, crit rate, crit damage, there you go. And skill levels, just level 7, they're just supports. I'm still using Angel in white. And I forgot again, MP consumption reduction, just observe it because I have MP recovery rate increase as well. I'm not sure about the exact amounts here. This is gonna depend on whatever you're using, so I would not recommend a specific amount. Just test it yourselves. Run it, record it, observe it from 3 minutes to 1 minute to 0 mark if she's having MP problems when using V reset, because that's the main problem here if you're using that. And this is kind of crucial because you want your hunters to have more MP by spamming the second skill here for MP regen. So here, red course, this one specifically very important. For Choi Jung-in, here's the stats: attack, defense penetration, damage increase. Those are the only things that you need to focus on. Fire damage there. Skills, I actually should not have increased this, but skill 1 priority and then ultimate. And then I'm using guardian set here still. Self blessing, course, these are the best ones. Attack percent here and red, and then blue. So Mirai Amamiya, I still have a lot of problems here. I don't have enough artifacts to build her similar to Chahi-in, but we've got MP 2,399. Attack is only 29k, crit rate 6.5k, although I think 4k is already enough. This is not intentional, I just don't have the right gears yet. Crit damage, defense penetration damage increase, and wind damage here. So I forgot to mention that your priority should always be the attack or the defense if it's a defense unit, because those are not going to be reduced because of the monster level. So Mirai artifacts and Mirai skills 10 here. And my Alicia here, still following the same amount. Priority attack, crit damage, defense penetration, and damage increase. This one reached almost 1.1 billion damage. Core attack, priority, still using this, and course. So Team C Min Byung-gu, here's the stats, not yet finished. Let's just go over this quick. Guardian set Sylph, course, and finally for the Libora, again still doing the same. Attack is 29k, crit is 9.4k, although I think 10k will be better. You also have to account for the debuff on the target. If you have, of course, a Libora weapon, this will add more crits. Of Chahi-in, of course, will have the branded debuff. So just adjust it yourself. Again, do not copy-paste anything. Just get the information you need. Adjust it on your own account. And crit damage is 21k, although I think 20k is already enough here based on my personal testing, again at level 70 monster. So I'll just do a follow-up on that once we get more information. And defense penetration damage increase, kind of think it will add damage, but it's kind of not the priority for Libora. You just need to boost the attack, the crit rate, and the crit damage to get higher damage. So this one reached almost 800 million. And as you can see here with my artifact, I'm even using a defense penetration boots here and did not add any more crit damage here because the attack percent is still a lot, like way more valuable than anything else, and I don't have anything that could actually match this with the crit damage main stats. So you can also do this as long as you hit your target stats. There's no problem with that. And for the artifacts, I found better results using 2-piece toughness and 2-piece curse. So just try it out yourselves. 4-piece curse is also okay depending on the stats that you have. 4-piece toughness, 2-piece toughness, 2-piece curse, also okay. So just try it out. And then for the course, blue, red, and then blue. So my Jugo is not yet well built. I'll just make some adjustments here soon. But here are the stats just in case, and here are the blessing stones that I'm currently using, as well as the runes that I'm currently using. That's gonna be it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, reminder, all of these things that I said here could still change depending on what we're gonna find out soon over the next few weeks or days that we're gonna do more research on this. Just use this as a guide that you can try and see if this will improve your damage. Right, so see you on the next one.